Madam Speaker, we learned from the committee-level budget briefing for the proposed budget of the Department of Transportation na meron pa pong hiwalay na proposed budget para sa Davao Transport Modernization Program. Can we confirm that, Madam Speaker?
Yes, we confirm. Yes, we confirm, dear colleague.
Madam Speaker, we'd like to be clarified, bakit po hiwalay pa ang budget para sa Davao Transport Modernization Program? Kasi kung meron isang nationwide program, although syempre we still have reservations sa overall na PUVMP or PTMP, pero gusto lang nating malaman, Madam Speaker, yun, bakit po hindi siya ginawang bahagi na rin ng buong national na modernization program?
Well, it is not really of a separate program. It is there are three very important bus programs that we have. The EDSA bus program, the Cebu bus rapid program, and the Davao. So to say that it is just a separate program in Davao, it is not. But it is a total bus program, and of course we have to consider Cebu and Manila with EDSA and Davao as the major transportation hubs. So it's a matter of title that these things were highlighted.
Madam Speaker, ano po ang similarities and differences nung nabanggit na tatlo, yung sa EDSA, Cebu, and Davao?
Similarities, access, we provide transport for the commuting public with ease, comfortability, and speed. Those are the similarities. Various points would be like EDSA, which is now in full steam ahead. Various points wherein passengers could alight and get in the bus, and stations would be put up with Cebu and Davao. So more or less this Davao program is an offspring and a similar mode of EDSA. As we all know, we had some good victories of what EDSA bus system that we try to replicate with Cebu and Davao, as you mentioned.
Madam Speaker, itong sa EDSA, ito po ba yung merong isang lane na reserve lang para sa mga bus?
Yes, we confirm, dear colleague.
Kasi Madam Speaker, based dun sa paliwanag ng sponsor, kung yung ginawa po sa EDSA na reserve talaga siya for buses, tapos di ba kahit po merong mga owners ng private vehicles na nag-insist na tingin po nila underutilized, pero tingin naman po natin talaga dapat panatilihin natin na para lang siya sa mga bus. Tingin naman natin, Madam Speaker, ay okay yung ganon kasi nga dapat mas pinopromote natin ang paggamit ng public mass transport. Pero Madam Speaker, kung sa Davao kasi, based sa feedback na nakukuha natin mula mismo sa mga commuters at sa mga stakeholders, ang gagawin po sa Davao ay mas similar talaga yung nature niya, Madam Speaker, dun sa ano ngayon ang PUVMP or yung PTMP na ang magiging resulta talaga ay pag-phase out ng ating mga jeep to make way for mga alternatives na, Madam Speaker, ang epekto din ito, syempre nandyan yung effect sa kabuhayan ng ating mga drivers and operators. Tapos, while of course gusto natin na cleaner yung energy source or yung fuel na ginagamit, pero tingin natin, Madam Speaker, hindi naman dapat yun pinipit against the right to livelihood of our constituents. Madam Speaker, doon din kasi sa level ng komite ay actually malaki yung pinopropose na budget nitong Davao modernization, which involves yung mga bus nga, Madam Speaker. May we be informed, Madam Speaker, bakit ganito yung proposed budget? Dahil ba ito ang first wave ng pag-procure or pagbili ng mga ipapalit na mga bus for this project or program in Davao?
Yes, because the chunk of this big budget, as you mentioned, would be the construction of depots, right-of-way issues, part of this of the stations, and various logistical requirements to put it up. So just to give you a picture of it, the extensive infrastructure of this Davao bus line would span for 670 kilometers of the region. So given the magnitude of the numbers, that would be the answer to why such an amount is given.
Madam Speaker, ano po ulit ang proposed na budget for 2025 for this program in Davao? Tapos ano po ang breakdown nun? Kasi as mentioned, may components ng right-of-way at iba pa. So ano po ang breakdown nun, Madam Speaker?
The figure is 1.9, the total, and the breakdown would be as follows. The consultancy, 132 million. The bus splits, that's the big chunk, 1.068 billion. Then the social development program, 274 million. And yan yung support do sa mga jeepney drivers natin, part of the 274 million. And others such as engineering, administrative, overhead, taxes, and contingencies. That would be around 432. 1.9, break it down.
So Madam Speaker, as mentioned, merong social development component which amounts to 274 million. Ano po ang breakdown din nun? Ano po ang mga nasa ilalim ng social development component?
Financial compensation is one. Trainings or possible livelihood opportunities. Scholarship for their dependents. And livelihood packages that would be suitable to them. So it's a approach for that 274.87 million.
Madam Speaker, sino ang mga pwedeng mag-avail o pwedeng maging beneficiaries ng financial compensation, livelihood packages, at iba pa?
Of course, the jeepney driver by itself or the wife, immediate member of the family who wish to avail of livelihood opportunity.
So hearing that, Madam Speaker, edi lalo nagiging mas malinaw na meron talagang mga madi-displace itong Davao bus project. And given na may pondong ilalaan para dyan, while nandyan ang amount na iyan, ay magiging resulta na yan, Madam Speaker, ng mangyayaring ang negative na impact doon sa mga, sila naman ngayon ay nagpa-apply ng mga ruta gamit ang kanilang mga jeepney. So gusto lang nating i-underscore yon, Madam Speaker, kaya on our end, no, ay mahirapan po tayong suportahan yung pinopropose na budget, hindi lang for the PUVMP or PTMP, pero pati itong 1.9 billion pesos na nire-request para sa Davao Bus Project. Madam Speaker, balik lang po doon naman sa overall na PUV modernization or yung public transport modernization. Madam Speaker, may research ang National Center for Transportation Studies sa UP na merong daily average ng 8.9 million jeepney commuters sa Metro Manila. Meron po bang figure ang DOTR na para matiyak natin na may sapat na supply ng masasakyan itong 8.9 million jeepney commuters sa Metro Manila? Ilan po dapat yung mga jeep na nasa kalsada?
Yes, it is enough.
Ngayon, Madam Speaker, kasi if we say na enough, edi dapat tansyado natin kasi alam natin ilan yung commuters eh. And supposedly alam natin kung ilan din naman yung capacity ng mga public utility vehicles natin. So supposedly, meron po tayong figure talaga kung paano natin masasabing ilan yung sapat na mga public utility vehicles, may it be jeepneys, yung mga FX, at iba pa?
I'll confer first, dear colleague, with the figures. I'll give you exact figures. I'll put it this way, dear colleague, 83% has consolidated. And given this 83% public transport that we have encountered no problem, since it's a consolidation, now we have the numbers. The numbers as of April 30 of 2024 is 117,058 traditional jeepneys of operation and consolidated. So those are the real numbers, 117,058 traditional jeepneys.
Madam Speaker, ito po ang mga bumibiyahe ngayon within Metro Manila. Pero Madam Speaker, ang gusto kasi nating malaman, ilan yung sapat? Kasi Madam Speaker, sa experience talaga ng mga commuters natin, ay pahirapan talaga. Madam Speaker, kahit sa mga pictures pa lang ng mga kababayan nating nahirapang sumakay para whether makapasok man or makauwi galing sa kanilang mga eskwelahan o sa kanilang mga pagawaan, hindi po talaga sapat, Madam Speaker. Kaya if we want to achieve an efficient public transport system, dapat meron po tayong pinanghahawakang number. Kasi kung ang na-mention po ay 117,058 at ngayon ay pahirapang sumakay ating mga kababayan, edi ang sapat, Madam Speaker, ay mas mataas talaga dapat dito. So, kasi kung hindi po natin matatakda ilan talaga yung sapat, then magiging doomed na tayo, Madam Speaker, na kahit ano pa yung gawin natin, kahit na palitan pa natin yung mga model ng mga jeep, pero hanggat ganito na hindi natin talaga sineset ano yung malinaw nating target, then doomed to fail itong modernization program.
Okay, I have to agree with that, dear colleague. Though the numbers are big, 117,000, within the issue of sapat is something that they should really look into in the matter of what we see on the streets, not only by the numbers of what they give.
Kung ganun, Madam Speaker, kasi marami din naman tayong mga, let's say, mga experts sa operations research, mga pwedeng scientists natin, ganyan, in partnership with experts din sa transportation networks. Actually, Madam Speaker, kung gugustuhin din naman ng ahensya, ay posibleng magawan talaga natin yun ng paraan paano madedetermine yung sapat na bilang ng mga public utility vehicles natin. Kaya, kung ganun, Madam Speaker, kasi na, halimbawa, yung mga hindi consolidated, hinuhuli, sa ngayon nga, Madam Speaker, hindi talaga sapat yung mga bumibiyahe, tapos mga huli pa, lalo nating pinahirapan kaysa pagsilbihan yung ating mga commuters. So, Madam Speaker, kung sa usapin ng mga kolorum, ilan na yung mga hinuli na mga jeepney dahil hindi sila nag-consolidate, hindi nila sinuko yung kanilang mga franchise sa mga korporasyon o yung mga co-opted na kooperatiba?
Those who did not consolidate have not gone back to their routes. In short, hindi na sila pumapasada knowing the penalties and consequence yung pwedeng mangyari. So that to answer the question.
Madam Speaker, in terms of yung mga hindi na pinabiyahe, kasi noong meron talagang mga remarks ang mga opisyal ng DOTR, lalo na po sa mga namamahala nitong modernization program, meron po talagang nadulot itong takot sa ating mga jeepney drivers and operators na sa halip na magpatuloy, bumiyahe, hindi na lang po sila bibiyahe kasi baka huliin sila. At gusto din nating malaman, Madam Speaker, kung meron na talagang mga hinuli at dineclare po ng mga kolorum dahil nga hindi sila sang-ayon doon sa forma ng modernization na ginagawa.
Well, the LTO apprehensions have focused on those not registered, and Rest be assured, though they have not put in and have gone back to their original work, they could still be part of the cooperative by joining the cooperatives that have consolidated. So in short, tuloy pa rin ang trabaho nila.
Madam Speaker, tingin natin ito na yung pangalawang tanong na hindi po tayo nasasagot. Kasi po, kung gusto pa rin talagang mabuhay ng mga jeepney drivers and operators natin, actually, Madam Speaker, ay merong mga nangahas, no? After nung deadline for the consolidation, meron pa rin talagang nag-attempt na makabiyahe. So, Madam Speaker, doon natin gustong malaman, meron bang mga pinatigil, meron bang mga na-apprehend, meron bang mga hinuli, tinanggalan ng franchise? Dahil ang classification na po sa kanila ay mga kolorum sila.
Well, we have to confirm their colleague. There are a few. Not, because they are not registered. That was the issue, not because of the issue of consolidation. They are not registered. There are a few na nahuli.
Madam Speaker, ang binabanggit pong basis na dahil wala silang registration, Madam Speaker, dahil po kasi doon nga sa sinet na deadline, ito ay na din naman malaman na napag-usapan sa Committee on Transportation na actually nga kahit na in-extend yung deadline, meron pa rin talagang mga mabibigat na usapin regarding the modernization program. So, Madam Speaker, dahil ini-insist na dapat mag-consolidate yung mga jeep, di kapag hindi sila nag-consolidate, di ba ang policy naman po ay pinagbabawalan sila makabiyahe. So, kaya Madam Speaker, doon din natin gusto makuha nga, ilan yung mga pinatigil na bumiyahe on the basis na kolorum na ang turing sa kanila.
Within the 13% na hindi nakasama, 17% na hindi nakasama doon sa consolidation, around 5% nag-decide talaga na with finality ayaw nilang mag-consolidate. So 5% yung numero, dear colleague.
5% po ay firm na hindi magko-consolidate, tama po?
Yeah.
So ngayon po, based sa oversight ng ahensya, ano na po ang ginagawa nitong 5%?
For the 5%, they were offered test the programs, test the trainings, then puhunan, then Dole now also is a part of it by trying to give them jobs and opportunities.
Okay, so Madam Speaker, may 83% na nag-consolidate. Although ito naman, Madam Speaker, tingin ko hindi pa rin naman mapanghahawakan na bagamat mataas yung figure ay indicator siya ng success. Kasi nga, bahagi ng pagpapakonsolidate ay pananakot sa mga driver na yun, hindi sila makakabiyahe kung hindi sila mag-consolidate. So, tapos, technically, Madam Speaker, di ba, may 17% na hindi nag-consolidate, yung 5% daw ay ganun na yung mga ginagawa. Yung 12% po, ano naman yung status nila?
So, there's a remainder na 12%. Part of that, nung pampanahon ng pandemic, talagang hindi na sila bumabiyahe. So, upon consolidation, doon lang nakita natin na meron na palang ganun na pandemic time. So, yun yung sa 12% na tinatanong.
Okay, kung gano'n, Madam Speaker, gusto lang nating i-put on record na kung patungkol po sa ahensya ay may mga fundamental talaga ng mga kahinaan, Madam Speaker. Kaya actually ay ang representasyon na ito ay hindi confident talaga na suportahan ang pinopropose na budget lalo for the modernization. Kasi nga, Madam Speaker, by its nature, ang mas pinapaboran nito ay mga foreign na mga manufacturers, tapos ginawa lang negosyo yung ating public transport system. Kaya tuloy, Madam Speaker, dahil ganun yung nakapangibabaw ng mga interest dun sa modernization, yung basic na mga impormasyon na kailangan natin for us to provide efficient service sa mga commuters natin, kagaya nung ilan ba talaga yung target na sapat na mga public utility vehicles, hindi po mabanggit. Tapos yung pag-monitor din po, kahit ngayong sila na mismo yung nagsabing manghuhuli sila, pero yung bilang po ng mga hinuli nila ay either hindi po nila mabanggit or hindi din po maamin talaga ng DOTR. So, hindi ko na po i-belabor yung tungkol sa topic na iyon, Madam Speaker, since I have less than 10 minutes left. Sunod ako, Madam Speaker, dun sa bike lanes. Gusto lang nating makuha, Madam Speaker, ang pagtingin ng DOTR kasi noong April 25, 2024, sa part po ng MMDA, nagpahayag po na posibleng tanggalin ang bicycle lanes along EDSA kasi tingin daw po ay hindi naman talaga nagagamit yung mga bike lanes, underutilized daw po. So ano po ang pagtingin po ng DOTR?
Well, the position of the DOTR is bike lanes play an integral part in the daily lives of our Filipinos. And in as far as the standard of safety and design is of primordial interest for the DOTR. The budget for bike lanes for this incoming year of 2025 has been dramatically decreased. But then it should move forward as part of the main thrust of bike lane programs of DOTR. It still has to continue.
Kaya Madam Speaker, tungkol naman sa budget na pinopropose, na-note po natin sa committee level budget briefing for DOTR na meron pong malaking kaltas doon sa budget para sa bike lanes. May we know once again, Madam Speaker, para sa kaalaman ng mga colleagues natin, magkano po ang cut doon sa proposed budget for bike lanes?
It's now down to 60M for next year. And this year it was one. This year we appropriated 1 billion for that, but then now it's dramatically cut for 60 million. So that would really be a big problem considering that bike lanes constructed the last 3 years need some refurbishments and repair. So this is really the challenge now for us in Congress in trying to put a budget for the continuation of this bike lanes for our people.
Madam Speaker, kasi compared dun sa 1 billion, tama po ba yun yung actual na na-allocate for this year, 2024,
Yes, for this
1
year.
billion? Madam Speaker, from 1 billion, ang nasa NEP natin ay 60 million pesos. Madam Speaker, yan ay nasa 94% na pagbaba. Madam Speaker, parang barya lang pala yung so far, no, yung proposal na nakahain sa atin for bike lanes. Maybe no, Madam Speaker, through our sponsor, bakit ganito, parang nahiya pa, Madam Speaker, kung hindi naman pala sincere yung economic managers natin to support this, baka po nahiya na gawing 0, kaya naglagay pa ng 60. Bakit po 60 yung nilagay?
I think the 60 million left out would just be for repairs and maintenance of previous bike lanes constructed. So it's really a big challenge on how we could move it forward and sustain the momentum of bike lanes in the metropolis and nearby areas of urban setting. That 60 million, I think, is really for just repairs and refurbishments of existing bike lanes that we have now.
Yeah. So, Madam Speaker, gusto din nating malaman, so kung ganito yung nasa National Expenditure Program, for the record din, dito naman sa level ng plenary, although natanong din naman natin ito sa Task Committee, pero dahil nga marapat lamang talaga na hindi tayo makontento dun sa 60 million pesos, Madam Speaker. So gusto nating malaman magkano ang original na proposal ng ahensya at ano po ang breakdown ng ganong proposal para po ma-justify natin kung tataasan man itong budget for bike lanes? Kasi dapat din naman, nataasan ito, Madam Speaker.
The original proposal, dear colleague, for the 2025 bike lane or active transport project was 2.5 billion, and the target for that is to build 290 kilometers of new bike lanes. Part of it, the breakdown would go as far as this: expansion and improvement of works for 2.3 billion. The establishment of end-of-trip cycling facilities, 150 million. And the establishment of public stops for 15 million. And engineering and administrative overhead expenses, 32 million. This was the proposal, but sadly, upon NEP, it was 60 million.
Okay, so that's very lamentable, Madam Speaker. Kaya once again, Madam Speaker, ito naman ay suportado natin ito at dapat lang talaga na pondohan ito ng sapat, Madam Speaker. So last few questions, Madam Speaker, bago matapos yung time natin. Sa naman po ng Pasig River Expressway o PAREX. Kasi, Madam Speaker, ito ay hindi madaling tanggapin, lalo na ng ating mga young environmental advocates at ang mga nagsusulong din naman ng makataong public transport. Kasi nga, kung sa NCR, Madam Speaker, ang dami na po expressway, ang pangako po ng mga ito ay isolve yung traffic, pero hindi naman umepek, Madam Speaker. Siyempre, ang mga nakinabang na dyan, kung sino yung mga contractors niyan, ganyan. Sila naman po yung sure win sa ganung mga tipo ng big infrastructure projects. Pero agrabyado po yung mga komunidad, no? Yung bahagi ng ating kalikasan, no? Na kung saan ipapatong, tatayo yung ganitong mga proyekto. So ano na po ang status ng PAREX sa ngayon?
The status of PAREX is it's now undergoing the period of detailed engineering design. So it's in the design phase, dear colleague.
Madam Speaker, I'm not super familiar dun sa order ng mga proseso, pero kung sa Environmental Compliance Certificate, may ganun na po ba ang PAREX?
It's still an undergoing process, meaning to say, ag-apply na, so it's a process pa rin under DNR. It's still a back and forth thing, I think, between the proponent and DNR.
So ibig sabihin, Madam Speaker, wala pa.
Yes.
Tama po ba? Wala pang ECC ang PAREX?
Yes, to confirm, dear colleague, wala pa.
And Madam Speaker, ibig sabihin ba inaantay natin yung design, na matapos yung design? Ganun din po ba? Tama po ba?
Dear colleague, it would be magkasabay.
Okay.
I think it follows that the detailed engineering design should be in consonance with ECC. So kaya nila pinagsabay. So kaya back and forth pa rin yung papel na yan. I think DENR is quite strict with this in the matter of environmental impact would happen to the river. Kaya siguro the general idea, pagsabayin, na yung detailed engineering design nila would really conform as not to harm the ecological balance of the Pasig River. So that would to answer the question.
Okay. To wrap up, Madam Speaker, gusto lang nating i-register yung position natin na kasi bahagi din naman ito ng mandato ng DOTR na meron naman pong makatao at makakalikasan na pag-aayos ng ating transport system. At sa ngayon, Madam Speaker, with how the public has had knowledge about this Pasig River Expressway, tingin natin, Madam Speaker, mas masama yung idudulot nito kesa yung pakinabang sa mga kababayan natin. Kaya babantayan talaga natin ito ng mga kapwa-kabataan natin all the way, Madam Speaker. And hanggat itutulak yan sa ganong paraan na merong maagrabyado ay tututulan po talaga natin yung PAREX. Yun lang, Madam Speaker. Salamat po sa sponsor sa pagsagot sa ating mga tanong.